Hello, and welcome to the West Coast Trail Hiker Safety Primer. The information in this presentation is crucial to your safety and well-being for the duration of your hike. By reviewing this information, you will be better prepared and have a safer and more enjoyable experience. The 75-kilometer or 47-mile West Coast Trail is part of the ancient paths and paddling routes used for trade and travel by First Nations. Huayet, Dididat, and Pejidat villages and camps were well established before the foreign sailing ships started to arrive off this coast over 200 years ago. As the years passed and the number of ships sailing the Juan de Fuca Strait increased, so too did the number of shipwrecks and drownings along the coast. In time, the coastline became known as the Graveyard of the Pacific. In 1906, when the steamship Valencia went down with the horrific loss of more than 125 lives, the public outcry prompted the Canadian government into further action. In 1970, Pacific Rim National Park Reserve was established, and in 1973, the life-saving trail was included in the National Park Reserve as a recreational hiking trail, beginning a new chapter in its history. Today, over 7,500 backpackers hike the West Coast Trail every year. They come to see the beauty, experience the many challenges, and walk the path of those that came before them. The West Coast Trail weaves its way along 75 kilometers of rugged coastline between the communities of Bamfield and Port Renfrew, with a total vertical elevation change of approximately 1,600 meters regardless of the direction traveled. The West Coast Trail lies within the traditional territories and homelands of the Huayet, Dididat, and Pejidat First Nations. Along the trail, you'll see signs noting the reserve or treaty settlement lands of the local First Nations. These are marked on your map as TSL and IR. Please be respectful, stay on the designated trail, and keep hiking through. There is no camping or exploring permitted in these areas unless you have made prior arrangements with the respective First Nations. The West Coast Trail Guardians are present along the trail assisting Parks Canada with maintenance, hiker safety, and protecting their land for generations to come. There are 3 Guardian teams along the trail. They each have a cabin where their operations are based out of. These cabins are private property and access is not permitted. The Huayet Trail Guardians may be seen working anywhere between kilometer 1 to 25. Their backcountry cabin is located at Secaucus at kilometer 17. The Dididat Trail Guardians may be seen working anywhere between kilometer 26 to 50. Their backcountry cabin is located at Sequadra at kilometer 30. The Dididat Trail Guardians may be seen working anywhere between kilometer 26 to 50. Their backcountry cabin is located at Sequadra at kilometer 30. The Pejidat Trail Guardians may be seen working anywhere between kilometer 51 to 75. Their backcountry cabin is located at Camper Bay at kilometer 62.5.
There are 2 lighthouse stations along the West Coast Trail: Pachina Lighthouse, located at kilometer 10, and Carmana Lighthouse, located at kilometer 44. The light stations and surrounding grounds at Carmana Point and Pachina Point are currently closed to the public. Please respect all posted notices and signs. There are 2 ferry crossings along the West Coast Trail, one at Nitnat Narrows at kilometer 32.5 and one at Gordon River at kilometer 75. Both ferries operate on a regular schedule. Ensure you are familiar with these and plan accordingly. Have your West Coast Trail backcountry use permit ready for each ferry crossing, as they are proof of your payment. From the north side of Nitnat Narrows, you will need to make yourself visible and signal the ferry operator for pickup. At Gordon River, you must raise the buoy by pulling on the rope at the bottom of the ladder to signal the ferry operator for pickup. Ferry operators do not work after hours. If you miss the last scheduled ferry, you will have to set up camp until the following day. These ferries are the only vessels legally permitted to transport hikers on and off the trail. Motorized and non-motorized vessels, including kayaks, paddleboards, or canoes, are not permitted to land anywhere on the West Coast Trail. Please note that swimming or paddling across these bodies of water is extremely dangerous due to strong currents and vessel traffic. You should never attempt this. In case of emergency, the ferry operators and the West Coast Trail Guardians will provide assistance and communicate directly with the Parks Rescue Team as required.
The next few slides will explain the West Coast Trail map and symbols in the legend. Beach access. Beach access points are commonly marked with floats hanging from a tree branch or with beach access signs on the trail. Please note, not all floats hanging in the trees signal a beach access. Always refer to your map as a navigational tool and use common sense. Impassable headland. It's important to be familiar as to where these are on the map. These areas are impassable. Always use the trail route to circumnavigate these shoreline areas. If you encounter an impassable headland, you will have to backtrack to the nearest trail access point. Meanwhile, the tide may come in and cut off your route. If this happens to you, remain calm and wait on the upper shoreline until a lower tide, and then resume your hike. Surge channels. Surge channels are narrow inlets on rocky shorelines caused by erosion. They can fill with water very quickly, especially during high tides or large wave sets. This is a dangerous area to enter at any time. Most surge channels are marked on your map. If you must cross a surge channel, make sure to undo the chest and waist belts of your packs, or take your packs off completely and pass them across the surge channel. Use a hiking pole or stick for balance. It is not recommended to jump over surge channels or to traverse on improvised bridges made of driftwood. Most of the surf channels have a safe forest detour route that will take you around them. To ensure you make the best out of each day on the trail, considering the following before you leave the trailhead or your campsite each morning. Be weather wise. Sudden rain, strong winds, or extreme heat can turn a great hike into a challenging one. Dress appropriately for the day and prepare for the elements by also ensuring your overnight equipment remains dry throughout your hike. Study your map for routes that may be restricted by tides. Consult your tide table and plan your day to avoid getting stranded in areas that become inaccessible during high tide. If your route includes a ferry crossing, consult the schedule in advance. Missing a ferry can disrupt your plans and may lead to additional challenges. Plan accordingly. Carry and know how to use your map. Pay attention to key map features like landmarks, topography, and trail markers. Maps are invaluable for navigation in unfamiliar territory. Have a clear and achievable destination in mind for the day, but also plan a plan B. Unexpected obstacles can arise, and having an alternative route or destination ensures you won't be stuck if your initial plans fall through. Remember the golden rule of backcountry hiking: flexibility. Be ready to adapt. Conditions can change, and sometimes the best choice is to turn back or take an alternative route or spend an extra night at a campsite. Travel in the backcountry requires special attention to safety. This section aims to provide you with key information to increase your ability to make safe decisions while you travel along the trail. To better understand the challenges you may encounter, the Parks Canada Rescue Team has shared the main reasons hikers require emergency assistance and the contributing factors to these situations. Slip, trips, falls. Contributing factors: mental and physical fatigue, infrastructure conditions, natural obstacles, level of preparedness, heavy packs, physical condition or experience, poor planning or judgment, such as being destination focused. Number 2, pre-existing medical conditions. Contributing factors: reoccurring back and knee injuries, recent surgery, diabetes, high or low blood pressure, cardiac history, medication, missing, changes in dosage requirements with increased activity output. Number 3, illness and adverse reactions. Contributing factors: improper hygiene and sanitation, food contamination or sensitivities to new food, waterborne illnesses, or insect stings and lack of medication. A shoreline can seem like a vast playground, but the tide can come in surprisingly quick. Incoming tides can isolate rocks from headlands and the shore. Avoid the temptation of strolling out to an interesting rock without knowing when the tide rolls back in. You also want to consider the tide and waves when choosing your campsite location for the night. Consult the overnight tide height before setting up your tent, or you may be forced to relocate in the middle of the night. Tides follow a regular pattern. Generally, there are 2 high tides and 2 low tides in a 24-hour period. This means that during your shoreline hike, you'll need to pay attention to the tide schedule. It's important to know when the high tide is because you might find certain areas inaccessible or submerged during those times. Before embarking on your hike, you should plan your trip by referencing the Tofino Tide Table. This is the tide station used for the measurements provided on your map. You can be proactive and obtain the hourly tide forecast by visiting tides.gc.ca and selecting Tide Station #08615 or downloading the CoSmart app on your phone, which provides tidal heights minute by minute. It's crucial to be aware of when high and low tides will occur to ensure that you can safely travel to your intended destination successfully. Tide heights quoted on the face of the map are approximate and assume calm seas. Check with Parks Canada staff if you have any questions about tides. Owen Point. Owen Point is a challenging area to navigate around and is only accessible when tides and seas combined allow for safe passage. This means tides below 6 feet when seas are calm, but could require a lower tide during larger seas. Hikers often do not allow for a sufficient amount of time to align their arrival at Owen Point with the appropriate tides. If you plan to travel through this section, you must plan ahead and allow plenty of extra time. If the tides or sea conditions create less than ideal conditions, you should adapt your plan and use the inland route instead. While Owen Point is a popular feature of the West Coast Trail, there are many equally picturesque areas along the trail that do not warrant the extra risks being taken in this area. The boulders. The boulders are located between Thrasher Cove campsite and Owen Point. This section of coastline is extremely difficult to hike through. Expect large, slippery boulders the size of small cars that you must navigate up and around. Underestimating the amount of time required to hike through this section often leads to injury because hikers rush to beat the rising tide. Thrasher Cove with high tides at night flooding tents. Thrasher Cove is a low-sloping beach with abundant drift logs in the upper shoreline. The low slope makes this beach susceptible to flooding at high tide. This campsite is also one of the busiest along the trail. While there is usually room for everyone, pay extra attention and ensure your tent site is located above the high tide. Slips, trips, and falls can occur on sharp or slippery rocks, in mud, or on logs, roots, and wooden boardwalks. A fall can result in a serious injury or a deadly tumble into the cold ocean water. Rocks on the coastline are very sharp and extremely slick, even when it isn't raining. The area between the exposed shoreline and rocks that are underwater at high tide can be very slippery due to marine algae growth. Rock cliffs occur on the shoreline near beaches and along the trail. In addition to slip, trip, and fall hazards, rock cliffs are a significant hazard and may result in unexpected water entry. Many people who are injured or die in the ocean didn't even intend to get wet. Here are some ways you can help make your hike safer. Wear proper footwear. Closed-toe shoes and boots are most appropriate. Where possible, avoid the rocks, especially if there is a potential to fall into the water. Know that logs will be slippery and expect them to move. Keep well back from the water's edge and steep rock drop-offs, and consider using hiking poles during your hike. The majority of reported injuries caused by slip, trips, and falls occur between Walbrand, kilometer 53, and Gordon River, kilometer 75. The 5-kilometer section of trail between Thrasher Cove and Gordon River is especially difficult due to trail conditions and considerable amount of elevation change. Depending on your fitness level and the weight of your pack, plan for a minimum of 1 hour per kilometer for this section. Before your journey, check the weather forecasted and avoid hiking during heavy rain warnings. Equip yourself with proper rain gear for your hike. Always set up your campsite at a safe distance from creek beds and low-lying areas as they can flood quickly. If rain intensifies, flash flooding of nearby creeks and rivers may occur. For your safety, consider a forested campsite located on higher ground. This applies for all campsites on the West Coast Trail. When crossing any creeks, practice safe creek crossing techniques. Ocean swell and surf can cause the river level to rise quickly. Unclip your chest and waist belts. With your straps undone, your backpack can be easily removed in the event you fall into the water. Don't cross with bare feet or flip-flops. Wear hiking boots or sturdy water shoes. Creek bottoms tend to be extremely slippery. Choose the safest and shallowest route to cross and during low tides if possible. Use your poles to anchor yourself. It is not recommended to cross when water is above your knees or when the currents are too strong. If in doubt, wait it out. During weather events such as heavy rains and high tides, rivers can be difficult to cross or entirely impassable. Wait for the conditions to improve prior to crossing. In extreme conditions, you may have to wait upwards of 24 to 48 hours before being able to cross these rivers safely. The Pacific Northwest Ocean water temperature ranges from about 7 to 14 degrees Celsius, with an average of 10 degrees Celsius. Cold water is known to have the most negative effect on us at temperatures ranging from 15 to 10 degrees Celsius. Cold water shock literally takes your breath away. Cold water can rapidly lead to dysfunction of the extremities and for many people, cold incapacitation within 10 minutes. Note that becoming caught in a current and pulled into deeper water away from the shore can take more than 10 minutes to escape from. It is not recommended to swim in the ocean. Hiking in the backcountry means encountering a variety of insects. It is important to be aware of potential hazards. You may come across ticks, wasps, and bees. If you have a prior history of adverse reaction to any of these, we recommend you carry the appropriate medications to control an allergic reaction, as emergency response in the backcountry can be delayed. West Coast Trail hikers should be cautious about waterborne parasites like Giardia. Purify your drinking water to prevent infection. If you develop a reaction from skin contact with plants, wash the affected area immediately and continue to monitor the affected site. Shellfish harvesting. From May to October, the West Coast Trail is closed to harvesting and consumption of all bivalve shellfish, clams, mussels, and oysters due to regular occurrence of paralytic shellfish poisoning, PSP. PSP can result in serious illness or death. Tsunami safety for everyone. Before your hike, you can sign up for local tsunami emergency notifications at ucluelet.connectrocket.com. 1. Know the signs. If you feel a strong earthquake, see the sea suddenly recede, or receive an official tsunami warning, act quickly. 2. Run to high ground. Move to higher ground or as far inland as possible. Aim for 20 meters within 20 minutes. Don't wait for an official alert. Trust your instincts and move fast. 3. Stay informed. Unless otherwise instructed, you will need to remain at high ground for 24 hours. Do not return to the coast until authorities say it's safe. 4. Don't wait for waves. Tsunamis may not always look like giant waves in movies. They can be fast, powerful currents. Avoid the shoreline. The West Coast Trail is home to bears, wolves, and cougars, and a broad array of other wildlife. We are all responsible for sharing the landscape respectfully to ensure the safety of both people and wildlife. These images were taken with remote motion detection wildlife cameras as part of a Parks Canada wildlife monitoring program. Be aware that approaching any wildlife for photos is prohibited. This is for the protection of wildlife and for public safety reasons. Encountering wildlife during your hike may be a very special moment for you. Keep in mind, the same animals have the same encounters with many hikers over their lifetime. These interactions can lead to habituation and escalate encounters over time. Resist the urge of prolonging interactions with wildlife by taking photos. Keep the wildlife wild. When it comes to coexisting with wildlife, prevention is key. Some basic principles you can follow while in the backcountry include making noise to let wildlife know you are in the area. Call out, clap, sing, or talk loudly, especially while traveling in narrow, forested trails with blind corners and berry patches. Stay alert and watch for recent signs of wildlife activity such as tracks and scat. If possible, hike after breakfast and before dinner. Hike in a group and always keep children close by. Always secure your food and other wildlife attractants. Keep at least 100 meters away from wildlife and never approach for any reasons, including for photos. Carry bear spray and other deterrents. Ensure they are accessible and know how to use them before you head out. Your unsecured food and garbage kills wildlife. How? Animals are attracted to food and garbage that is left unattended or not properly secured. Wildlife that learn to seek food or garbage from people can become aggressive and may injure people. When wildlife learn to associate food and garbage with people, Parks Canada may need to kill the animals to prevent people from being injured. Animals that access human food and garbage also often ingest items that may be toxic or make them sick. Their life depends on you. Do not feed wildlife, litter, or leave your attractants unsecured. If you are camping on the West Coast Trail, you are agreeing to our bare campsite policy, which is to keep your campsite bare when you're not there. This means that when you leave your campsite unattended or when you are sleeping, you must properly secure your wildlife attractants. Parks Canada defines the following items as wildlife attractants: your food, all cooking equipment including stoves, pots, pans, bowls, mugs, and utensils, all scented items including toiletries, toothpaste, soap, sunscreen, and bug spray, and any garbage including sanitary products that you must carry out. When you are at your campsite, put away all attractants when not in use. Your food and cooking equipment should only be out when preparing or eating. These principles should be applied throughout your hike, including during lunch breaks along the way. Never leave food or your backpack unattended along the trail. Wildlife are capable of quickly accessing your attractants, even when you leave them unattended for 1 minute while using the washroom. All the campsites on the West Coast Trail have metal food lockers for you to properly secure your attractants, as shown in the photo on the left. Ensure to clip the carabiners to lock the food locker so that wildlife cannot open it. In addition to the bins, some campsites also have bear poles, as shown in the photo on the right. Make sure to pack 15 meters of rope and a dry bag to hang your food on the poles out of reach of wildlife. If the bins and poles are full, as a last resort, you can hang your attractants in a tree. Before your trip, search Respecting Tan, How to Hang Your Food, Parks Canada, and Hide a Nation on YouTube to learn how to properly hang your food in a tree. Remember, bears are very good climbers. Never store your attractants in, near, or above your tent when you're sleeping. When you're ready to leave the campsite and resume your hike, never leave food or garbage behind in the food lockers. The food locker will become full and unusable, will smell, and become an attractant to wildlife. Pack out all that you pack in. Encounters with bears foraging and traveling on the trails and beaches are common. If you encounter a bear, you need to stay calm. Prepare your bear spray and deterrents. Assess the situation and do not run. Back away slowly and talk in a calm voice. Give the bear at least 100 meters of space. Assume that anytime you see a bear, another one could be close by. Encounters with mother bears and cubs are common, especially on the north end of the trail, but may occur anywhere. Allow time for the bear to leave the vicinity of the trail or beach before attempting to hike through. If a bear approaches you, you need to assess the bear's behavior and determine why it is approaching. If the bear is protecting its young, food, or has been surprised by your presence and is showing signs of stress, such as jaw popping, stomping, panting, swatting the ground, or vocalizing, you are dealing with a defensive bear. It sees you as a threat. This is the most common type of aggressive black bear encounter. If this occurs, try to appear non-threatening. Talk in a calm voice, and when the bear stops advancing, start slowly moving away. If the bear keeps coming closer, stand your ground, keep talking, and use your bear spray. If the bear makes contact with you, play dead. This is most likely a defensive attack. Lie on your stomach with your legs apart and position your arms so that your hands are crossed behind your neck. Remain still until you are sure the bear has left the area. If the attack continues for more than 2 minutes, it may mean it has shifted from defensive to predatory, so you need to fight back. However, in a predatory attack, the bear will approach you while staring intently and stalk you without showing any signs of stress or vocalization. This means the bear sees you as a potential prey. In this case, you need to do everything you can to intimidate the bear. Shout and act aggressively. Stomp and stand your ground. If it approaches closely, use your bear spray. If the bear attacks you, fight back. Use any additional tools available as hiking poles, sticks, and rocks. Do not play dead. Do whatever it takes to let the bear know you are not easy prey. It can be difficult to predict the best strategy to use in the event of a bear attack. This is why it is important to learn as much as possible about bear behavior before your trip. If a bear comes into your campsite, a unified approach by hikers will be required. You need to put your attractants away, prep your wildlife deterrents such as bear spray and air horn, notify other campers or hikers around and group together, make noise, never approach the bear, and be prepared to give the bear extra space. If you encounter a wolf or cougar, you need to stay calm, do not run or crouch down, group together and keep children close by. Back away slowly, maintaining eye contact with the animal as you leave. Yell, wave your arms, and look big. If you have one, use an air horn. If a wolf or a cougar approaches you, throw sticks and stones at the animal. If the aggression escalates, use your bear spray and fight back. Ask the trailhead staff during your briefing about any special current wildlife warnings or closures and recent wildlife sightings. The next few slides will show the structures found along the West Coast Trail corridor and some of the things you need to know while using them. Regular maintenance of boardwalk is carried out throughout the season. However, the condition of the boardwalk ranges from new to completely deteriorated. Use caution as they can be slippery even during long periods of dry weather. If boardwalk infrastructure is damaged, step down and travel along the side to avoid injury. Pay special attention to sections that may have decaying wood and exposed nails. Be on the lookout for damaged and unsafe infrastructure throughout your hike. There are approximately 38 ladder structures on the trail. Inspect the structure for missing or broken rungs before you use them. Only one person on each ladder section at one time. Avoid overcrowding platforms, and always maintain 3 points of contact while on ladders. Similar to boardwalks, any wood structure in the rainforest will be slippery regardless of the time of year due to algae buildup and moisture. Be extremely careful when crossing a log bridge. If you are uncomfortable with using these, look for an alternative route, typically along the side. There are roughly 108 bridges along the West Coast Trail. Maximum 2 people on the bridge at a time. Be courteous and wait for others to pass. Do not shake, bounce, or jump off of bridges. There are 5 cable cars on the trail. Cable cars can hold a maximum of 2 people at a time and their packs. For safety, limit the number of people on the platform at one time. Take your pack off before entering the car. To use the cable car, pull the cable car towards you using the rope provided. While one person holds the rope or metal arm of the car, the second person can load the backpacks into the center of the car. Have one person climb in and sit down and hold onto the lower rope, holding the cable car steady while the second person climbs in. Make sure fingers, hair, and gear are clear of ropes and pulleys and let go of rope. When the car stops, use the lower rope to pull yourself up to the other side. Unload as you loaded. For one person, pull the cable car to you, stabilize the car by holding the lower rope, and carefully load your pack in, followed by yourself. Once you are in the cable car, check that everything is secure and release the rope, allowing the car to travel towards the other edge of the creek. Unload safely using the same method. If you notice a cable car that is damaged or out of order, please report it immediately to the Parks Canada emergency number provided. Traveling in the backcountry has some inherent risks. On average, every year, about 2% of hikers will sustain an injury and or require an evacuation from the West Coast Trail. It is important for every member of your hiking group to leave a trip plan with a trusted emergency contact and to be prepared to deal with emergencies if they arise.
In case of emergencies, there are 3 common ways to call for help: cell phones, satellite devices, and marine VHF radios. There is cell service along much of the trail, but this service is from the American Cellular Network. If you plan on using this option, ensure you have enabled roaming on your cell phone and with your service provider ahead of your trip. Reception is good on most beaches and at campsites, but can be poor in forested areas. You should not call 911 while roaming, as your call will be directed to the American 911 services and will result in delays. The Parks Canada 24-hour emergency number is 1-250-726-3604. Please note that this number cannot receive text messages. Satellite communication devices such as Spot, InReach, or satellite phones are the most reliable communication devices while on the trail. If you choose one of these devices, be familiar with your device and how it works before starting the trail. In non-life-threatening situations, we recommend sending a message to your pre-programmed emergency contact. Let them know your situation, urgency, and location. Have them call the Parks Canada 24-hour emergency number. Many of these devices also provide an SOS option. This option will effectively contact rescue services, but should be reserved for life-threatening emergencies. Finally, marine VHF radios, although less commonly used, are another way to contact emergency services via the Canadian Coast Guard on Marine Channel number 16. Signaling to passing boaters is not recommended because they can't safely reach the shoreline for assistance. The lack of clear communication with a vessel from shore can lead to confusion as to the nature of the incident and urgency. Only consider this option if it's your last resort.
When you check in for your hike at the trailhead, your group will receive an injury report form. This form includes all of the information in this section, so there's no need to memorize it. Keep this form for your reference during your hike in case you need it during an emergency. If you or someone in your group gets injured, or if you encounter a hiker in need, prioritize your safety first and then do your best to help. We suggest following these basic emergency rules. Stay with the injured person until help arrives. Do not leave them alone. It is important to keep warm, keep hydrated, and eat to maintain your energy levels. This goes for you as well as the injured hiker. Treat. Treat wounds by keeping them clean. Cover wounds and care for them. Treat sprain and strains with rice, rest, ice, compression, and elevation. Treat fracture. Immobilize the injured area and treat for shock. Help the injured person get into a comfortable position, encourage them to rest, and reassure them. Do your best to keep the injured warm and dry. Take notes. Collect as much information as possible. Time of injury, medication taken, and at what time. What has been done to treat the injury and record vital signs if you are trained to do so. Assess mobility. If you can travel to a nearby campsite, safely do so. If not, stay where you are. Be patient. It may take upwards of 24 hours for help to arrive. After contacting the Parks Canada 24-hour emergency number, please stay put at your current location. The Parks Canada rescue team will initiate evacuation procedures as soon as they are aware of your situation and whereabouts. The rescue team will provide you with clear instructions. Please follow them closely. If the injured person can walk, they may be asked to head to the nearest evacuation point to meet the Parks Canada rescue team. Bystanders can be helpful in carrying equipment. If the injured person is unable to walk, the rescue team will meet them on site and provide a comprehensive assessment and care. Please be aware that evacuation could be delayed due to adverse weather conditions. Be prepared to stay at your current location for several hours until assistance arrives. When the rescue team does arrive, they will transport you to Gordon River, from where you'll be transferred to a higher level of care, usually by BC Ambulance Service. Parks Canada does not charge for rescue services. However, there may be associated medical costs, including transport by ambulance, that may apply depending on your medical and insurance coverage. If you sustain an injury while on the trail or witness an injury that does not require an evacuation, we would like to know about it. Please fill out the injury report form and submit it along with your permit at the trailhead when you exit the trail. The information collected will be entered in our incident database and help Parks Canada in our planning and prevention efforts. If you would like someone from Parks Canada to follow up with you, Don't forget to leave your contact information and tick the box, "Yes, I give Parks Canada permission to contact me for follow-up information if necessary." If you suffer a minor injury or illness and are still able to hike safely, you should consider your options to self-evacuate. This means leaving via the closest exit point, which could involve turning around and hiking back to your entry point. If you wish to exit the trail via Nitnat Narrows, a water taxi heads back to Balastad, also known as Nitnat Village, once daily at 5 p.m. There are extra fees for the water taxi to take you from the Nitnat Narrows to Balastad. Anyone who self-evacuates must notify Parks Canada of their change of plans and early departure. When visiting the backcountry, it is important to leave areas as you found them. Ensure you are familiar with the Leave No Trace principles ahead of your trip. During your visit, avoid altering the backcountry so that others can enjoy the natural landscape after you. This includes carving logs and building driftwood structures. Keep in mind, good campsites are found, not made. Garbage. What you pack in, you must pack out yourself. This includes all food packaging and excess food you no longer wish to carry. If you have food in excess, do not leave it in the food storage for others, as this will make the facility unusable for others. Thoroughly inspect your picnic areas and campsites for trash, food scraps, cigarette butts, and other micro waste before you leave. Remember, whatever you leave behind, someone else will have to carry out. Marine debris. You should refrain from carving into marine debris found along the shoreline. This practice releases microplastics into the environment. You should also avoid hanging marine debris in trees. Marine debris should not be piled up near food storage facilities, as this will attract wildlife. Along the trail located at each campsite, you will find outhouses equipped with composting toilets. Please note that toilet paper is not provided in these outhouses, so be sure to bring your own. Inside the outhouses, you'll find wood chips to aid in the composting process and reduce unpleasant odors. After using the outhouse, remember to add a handful of wood chips. Only toilet paper, human waste, and wood chips should be added to the composting toilets. Menstrual hygiene products, garbage, or leftover food should never end up in the composting toilet and need to be packed out. If you find yourself between outhouses, it's important to move at least 30 meters, approximately 100 feet, away from the trail and any freshwater source. There, you should dig a small hole, 15 to 20 centimeters deep, cover your waste, and camouflage the site before you leave. Pack out your soiled toilet paper to the nearest outhouse for disposal. Freshwater is available at various locations along the trail, though it should be purified through filtration, treatment, or boiling. When gathering water, always gather drinking water upstream from campsites and other facilities such as outhouses. Choose a location where the water is flowing rather than standing still. Do all dishwashing and bathing downstream of the campsite. Washing or bathing upstream can contaminate the water for others. In dry weather, there may be a shortage of water between Squadra Point, kilometer 30, and Dare Beach, kilometer 40. There is no source of fresh water at Chiawat River or the Nitnat Narrows, as these water bodies contain a mixture of salt water. When having small beach fires in the backcountry, it's important to adhere to responsible practices. In national parks, campsites are subject to strict regulations, and you should check with Parks Canada staff for the latest fire restrictions. If a fire ban is in effect, you will be informed during your in-person briefing before hiking the trail. Utilize established fire rings or choose a safe location away from vegetation or the tree canopy. Place fires below the high tide line to let the tide wash away any evidence of your fire, leaving the campsite clean for other hikers. Keep fires small and use driftwood no larger than your wrist in diameter as fuel, avoiding any harm to live trees. Be cautious of wind conditions. Maintain constant control over the fire. Have a water source for extinguishing it, and ensure it's completely out before leaving. Forest fires are a significant concern, as improperly extinguished fires can ignite root systems and ground cover, potentially causing devastating forest fires. Regulations and prohibitions. Under the National Parks Act and regulations, it is illegal to collect, remove, or damage any natural or cultural resources within Canada's national parks. This includes marine life, shells, fossils, artifacts, animals, trees, and other plants. Dogs are not allowed on the West Coast Trail. Illegal access, whether without a permit or via a method that is prohibited, is illegal. The use of recreational drone is not permitted within the boundary of Pacific Rim National Park Reserve. In all other circumstances, a restricted activity permit is required. It is illegal to feed wildlife knowingly or unknowingly. We request that you capture moments in photographs, leaving behind only footprints. Due to an abundance of wildlife activity, there is no camping between kilometer 34 and 38. Plan your days accordingly to avoid camping in this area. Camping in this area is prohibited. Disturbing wildlife is a federal offense. This includes, but not limited to, approaching any wildlife for photos, approaching or disturbing sea lions and seal pups, interfering with injured wildlife, or intentionally chasing, scaring away birds such as migrating seagulls. For 54 years, pink sand verbena was thought to be extirpated from Canada until 2 plants were found on the beach south of the Chiawat River in 2000. Since then, Parks Canada has restored habitat and planted pink sand verbena on Chiawat and several other locations. Now, pink sand verbena may appear on any sandy beach or dune of the West Coast. Silky beach pea is another rare plant that you may see on the beaches. Please stay on bare sand when walking, camping, or having campfires to avoid harming these and other rare plants. Before accessing the trail, you must check in at one of the trailheads and attend the in-person briefing. We ask that you check in 30 to 60 minutes before the start of the briefing you would like to attend. You will be issued your backcountry use permit and be able to purchase a National Park entry pass if you do not already have one. In addition, a waterproof map and a copy of the injury reporting form will be issued upon completion of the in-person briefing at the trailhead. We recommend hikers bring a small Ziploc or waterproof bag to carry these items. Everyone must register on and off of the West Coast Trail. At the end of your trip, come into the office to check out. This will also be an opportunity to report anything you may wish to report, such as wildlife sightings, incidents or injury, damaged infrastructure, and any other comments regarding your experience on the West Coast Trail. This feedback is important to us, so don't hesitate. We hope this safety primer will help enhance your journey on the West Coast Trail. Happy trails!